All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Deal in the Cards podcast presented by 314 Cards and Collectibles. We've got a really exciting lineup of topics here. I think the first thing is there's big news in the baseball world. Some people like Andrew are probably happy about it, but the Dodgers went out there. They signed yet another mega deal. This time it's a $182 million deal for 5 years with Blake Snell. So that'll be paying him roughly $36.5 million a year. Which in Cardinals terms is a lot of money, a lot more money than anyone on the team's being paid now. If you're wondering, that more than doubles the largest contract the Cardinals have ever given out to a free agent. And it is still like the fifth biggest deal the Dodgers have on the books right now. So it's crazy. I know I've been looking around at the response from all sorts of people all around the industry. It feels to me, and I know Andrew's going to push back against this, and that's fine. We're ready to have that conversation. But it does feel to me like this is getting out of hand at this point. To see the Dodgers be able to do this over and over again at every trade deadline, the best guy available is a Dodger, right? Think about it. Flaherty at this one, Scherzer and Trey Turner at a different deadline. Yu Darvish another year, right? There's always a star. He's always a Dodger. In previous years, like the best free agents, like look at last year. Shohei Ohtani's the best hitter on the market. He's a Dodger. Because Aaron Judge was never really on the market, let's be honest. And that was 2 years ago, actually. And Yamamoto's the best pitcher on the market. Boom, he's a Dodger. They had the ability to fork out $325 million for him. The Glasnow extension's huge. The Betts extension is huge. They got Freeman. Now they've got Snell. It just feels like it's never going to end. And they're still in on Soto. According to John Heyman earlier today, they're still looking to be competitive in that market. They've made an offer. It wouldn't shock me at this point. I don't think money will be the reason they don't get him if they don't land Juan Soto. So it's just insane. Andrew, what's your response to all of this?
I mean, if we were looking at other teams that spend a lot of money, but they just spend it worse, I don't think we'd be having this discussion at all, right? Because we say the Dodgers get the best player available or whatever, and I feel like a lot of that is in hindsight. Like Freddie Freeman, probably the best hitter available whenever he was acquired. That's probably the best hitter available at the trade market. But like, it's not like other teams aren't going out and acquiring these big name guys. Like if the Dodgers had signed Dansby Swanson and Javier Baez and Anthony Rendon and Steven Strasburg, we wouldn't be having this conversation because they would be terrible. And that's the same amount of money, right?
It's still less money. That's definitely still less money than the Dodgers have committed. They have
I can keep naming guys.
$5 million deferred alone. Like there's a ton of money. It is no one else. Like I know the Mets have a higher payroll than the Dodgers, and you can say that, and that's fine. But it's a different type of payroll. First off, the Mets payroll is higher because it's short-term contracts that are about to expire. By the way, right? Like the Verlander and Scherzer deals are already done. It's short-term contracts with higher AAVs, and they're not locking up stars for the next decade. Yeah, that's probably on them for spending stupid. But the point is, I'm not comparing them to the Mets, another big market team whose spending is out of control. I'm comparing them to the average baseball team that just doesn't have that ability. The thing that's frustrating is that it feels like a team like the Cardinals just can't compete on the free agent market. If you want the Cardinals to sign a superstar player, it just can't happen today. There's no way. Yes, there have been guys the Cardinals should have signed. I wish they'd made a real run at Bryce Harper. I really do. And they should have. They probably could have afforded that contract, and it'd be amazing for Bryce Harper to be wearing Cardinal red instead of Philly red. That was a guy they could have gotten. But for the most part, these other guys, there's no way. The Cardinals are never players. They're never going to be, and they never were going to be players in the Juan Soto market. They were never going to be players in the Shohei Ohtani market because these deals are so big that the Cardinals can't even assume the risk of one of them, let alone six. The Dodgers being able to assume the risk of 6 mega deals at the same time. And that's not including 2 other $100 million contracts, one of which a player who shall not be named, still on the books. And the other one is Will Smith. That's a massive extension, a bigger extension than the Cardinals can sign for their guys. Like it's just crazy, the amount of money. And I'm not saying that other teams aren't doing it too. Like the Aaron Judge extension is massive, $40 million a year. That's money that the Cardinals just can't comprehend for 9 years, right? And the Mets spend a lot too. But the Cardinals, they just can't hang with that. And it sucks. Think about this. The media deal the Cardinals signed in 2017 was supposed to last through the 2033 season. That's a 17-year deal for the 17 season all the way through 2033. 17-year deal that was going to make $1 billion for the Cardinals, and it was backloaded. Okay, $1 billion over 17 years versus the deal the Dodgers just signed a few years ago, a 25-year deal set to pay out $8.35 billion. That is 835% of the total value of the Cardinals deal. I know it's a couple extra years, but that works out to $1 billion every 3-ish years, which is what the Cardinals are taking 17 years to make in the media space. The numbers just aren't the same. There's really no way for them to compete in that sense. And that is really tough as a fan when you see that.
I mean, you said a lot there.
I know. I'm on my soapbox.
What to address first, but I think we're looking at the wrong issue here if we're saying that the Cardinals can't go after these premier players, right? Like Soto or Ohtani or whoever. Because like I get that the Cardinals have like a bottom like 5 market size.
Bottom
that's
two.
That's not how ownership, that's not what the fans like. We outplay our market significantly. We were consistently like top 3 in attendance before last year.
Yeah.
And we were consistently amongst the highest in TV ratings and people watching. And the only reason that that's not happening right now is because the team isn't good. And people are fed up with all the losing. But like, if you put a product on the field that is watchable and good, and you have all of the players, like you had Yachty here, a franchise player, and then you had Goldie and Arenado and Pujols and all of those guys and Waino, it sells, and you make that back. Like, you can't tell me that the Cardinals, they might not be able to outspend the Dodgers, but they can certainly outspend like the Blue Jays, who are in on Ohtani. And
I don't know if that's true.
The Blue Jays almost never run a higher payroll than the Cardinals do.
Toronto proper has a larger population than the St. Louis metro area. Like,
that's fine.
I get what you're saying about gate money. Like, that matters, right? Attendance is great. It's awesome that the Cardinals sell jerseys and stuff like that. But that money, like that is not the main amount of revenue for the Cardinals. The main revenue generator is still the TV deal, and it's still revenue sharing. Now, we don't know everything about revenue sharing. We don't get those numbers, but we know that it's roughly equal to $100 million. Somewhere between like 90 and 110 is the numbers that I've seen. That, like, even that plus everything else is less than the Dodgers take home pay from their TV deal. And then the Dodgers also get a share of national revenue that's generated. They also get a share of postseason revenue like everyone else. Like, it's insane. And the they're playing with a loaded deck is my point.
That's how the game has always been, right? There's always going to be those teams that do that. And that's why, like, it just so happens that the best run organization in baseball also happens to have the best payroll or the best flexibility and has the most money coming in. And that sucks right now. But like, this team is not going to be good forever. Freddie Freeman is 35. He's approaching 36. He's going to continue to get paid the same amount.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts is going to keep getting older. Shohei's injuries in the World Series look really bad, and I'm not going to bet against him, but I'm saying, like, there's a chance where it doesn't pan out. And Blake Snell, all last offseason, when we were talking about pitching, we were like, Blake Snell is the one guy, the premier guy on the market that we don't want on the Cardinals. And the reason is because he's one of the most inconsistent pitchers of all time. He's won 2 Cy Youngs, and he's made 2 All-Star games, and it was in those 2 years. He's never been an All-Star any other time. I don't think he's ever gotten votes another time.
He did break the mold last year. Blake Snell, after July 1st, best pitcher in baseball.
Okay, but for like 15
3 months. 3 months of production.
That's not that many. That's not a large enough sample size for me to be like, okay, well, Blake Snell is now all of a sudden going to be really good, because before that he was absolutely horrible. And he was hurt all the time. And it looked like that contract was going to be a disaster for the Giants. And now it's not. He opted out and he signed with the Dodgers. But he's making, $38.5 million for the next 5 years?
But it's a lot of money. The problem for the Cardinals, though, with Blake Snell is we can't assume that risk, but the Dodgers can, is the point. Like, they can just take that on.
They can't. Look at their rotation in the playoffs this year. If they lose Blake Snell, like, they were one Shohei Ohtani home run away from being swept, and no one would be talking about this. Like, if Ohtani didn't hit that home run in Game 1 of the NLDS, we're saying right now, haha, look, the Dodgers are spending more money. Look at them.
It's
And
true.
like they're just going to lose in the first round again. Like they just happened to win this year. And the first time in how long where that's happened? And like
4 years.
what, 40 years? They
40
haven't had a parade in
years.
40 years. And
Parade versus Jack. They won in 2020.
But like I don't get that. So like we're not talking about something that's just like broken the entire league, right? They were one swing away from going home after 3 games. Dave Roberts is fired, and we're all scratching our head wondering what's going to happen.
You can't like guarantee. Josh put this tweet out, and I think it's a great way to like capture all this. You can't guarantee that you'll win a World Series, obviously.
Yeah.
But the Dodgers are pretty close to like maxing out their odds at this point. And look,
it's still what would you say right now is like 10% chance that they win?
No, I would say it's probably like 15 to 20%. It is there's no way they miss the playoffs, first off, at this point. The Dodgers missing the playoffs would be a humongous surprise. I would say the odds of the Dodgers missing the playoffs is probably like the odds of a terrible team making the playoffs by now. It's almost a lock. And they're going to get that bye. Really, all the Dodgers have to do now is just be able to lock it down for 15 games at this point. They'll be able to rest stars.
15 games is
healthy. It's tough.
See what happened. The reason the Dodgers won the World Series this year is because their team wasn't that good up until the playoffs, and they had to fight and claw for the NL West. Like in the years past where they've had it locked up by September, they look lost in the playoffs. It's never worked out. It's because they had to fight and they came together as a team. It has nothing to do with like, honestly, if they lock up the division by September, I say there's less of a chance that they win the World Series because they're just not going to get those reps, and other teams are going to be fighting for it, and some of those guys are going to have rust.
They're still going to be playing, but it's got to be nice to be able to say, okay, like not as many high leverage innings for now, and you can.
But how many teams, like both teams that were in the World Series this year, were number 1 seeds, but they were fighting until the last day to win their division, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of more parity in baseball this year than usual, for sure.
Yeah, but I don't know.
The other thing is,
I understand the frustration,
like
because the good teams are hateable, and that's just how it is. And I'm not going to continue to. I'm not going to try to convince anybody to support the Dodgers with me. I like that's not something that I'm interested in doing. But I think to go and say that they're doing something that's not fair, because the only contract that looks really egregious in terms of deferrals is the Ohtani contract. And the only reason that that's even happening is because Ohtani makes more in endorsements than the next like 8 guys combined. And he has the money to live extremely comfortably without making anything.
Every baseball player, almost every superstar has that money. Like
Aaron Judge is making $8 million a year or something like that from endorsements. Ohtani's making like 65.
Yeah.
So he'd be the highest paid player in baseball if he was making nothing.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be close. So like it's not going to happen again. They're not going to sign another superstar who is going to defer like 80% of their contract. Like it's not possible. And if they do, they're going to be horrible in 10 years because they're going to be paying $1 billion to guys who are retired.
I hope that happens. I would love
to see it. It's going to be good. And they're throwing everything in on this team, which is fine. Like they can do that, and they're just mortgaging their future right now. Instead of trading prospects, they're just paying all these guys down the road. And that's a bold strategy, I guess. But like, I don't know if it's necessarily going to hurt them. Like we have to wait and see how this plays out. But to say that it's not fair to defer this much money or something,
I'm not saying it's not fair. I think there should be a rule against being allowed to defer so much money because of how it changes.
Why? You work a regular 9-to-5 job and you can defer as much of the money as you want.
I think it's stupid that you can say I'm paying this guy and then have it not count, and then be able to just put it off.
It does count because they're basically right. What the Dodgers do.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
They pay him the $2 million. And they put the other 44 or whatever, however they value it, and they put it in a bank account, and it doesn't do anything. They're not using
interest, and then they'll pay them at the end. I know. Yeah. I just think that it's stupid that you can have a dollar amount that a guy's getting paid, and then you don't have to give him that money right away. I think that's annoying. And if the Dodgers needed to, they could access.
Nolan Arenado has deferred contract too. He's deferring like $50 million of his deal. and his deal's not that
way
big.
less.
Like
MLB needs to institute a limit to how much can be deferred.
I mean, it would just be the Ohtani contract that would have that. None of the other contracts have that much deferred salary. Like Blake Snell is deferring like 60 million of his deal.
Yeah.
That's like pretty similar to how much Arenado's deferring anyway.
Yeah,
So
I know.
like,
I'm not saying it's all of them. I'm not saying it's all of them. But I do think MLB should institute a rule that says you can't defer more than 25%.
And it will never be used.
And the players union would also say no. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So it's not going to happen. And like,
I get that.
There's
the Ohtani contract. The point is that people want the Cardinals to compete for superstar players.
Yeah. And they can't.
They can't.
Why can't they?
Well, okay. There are some superstars in the past that the Cardinals should have signed. They could have been in on some of these guys. But like you're telling me the Cardinals would have any chance to outbid the Dodgers for a guy like Blake Snell, who the Cardinals signing Blake Snell will be a problem because he's so risky.
I think this is a tremendous overpay by the Dodgers. I would not give Blake Snell $30 million a year.
I don't know if he could easily be worth it though. Like if Blake Snell wins another Cy Young award during the course of this contract, they paid all that money for that 1 year. Like a lot of teams would say that's a fine thing. You know, like he'll be a usable pitcher most of the time, and then he'll probably have 2 insane years like he did in the past, and that's enough for them. The problem is the Cardinals can't take on that risk. These deals can work out or they cannot. But for a team like the Dodgers, you can take on this risk. And then if a guy sucks, you can say, okay, we're cutting ties or whatever. Like David Price, the Dodgers were able to just take on that money to acquire Mookie Betts in the process. Cardinals could not take on the David Price deal. He's terrible. He's super old. And that contract would be a massive albatross on their books. And they can't handle it. And then they can't compete anymore and spend anymore, even on the margins. That's the way the front office acts. I do think you're right. There's a middle ground where the Cardinals need to spend more, and they definitely need to spend smarter. And the Dodgers deserve their flowers for spending smart. But it's the fact that they can stack 6 giant deals together. Other teams just can't do that. The Cardinals could maybe afford one of those guys. They couldn't afford 2.
They could definitely afford 2. A lot of teams, look at the Rangers. The Rangers have like 4 of those guys. The Seager, Semien. They signed DeGrom.
Yeah, the DeGrom deal.
Signed DeGrom to a huge contract, and he never pitched.
Brutal for them.
And they have other guys too that they spent a lot of money. Eovaldi was a shorter term contract.
None of those deals. Only those 3 are even on the scale as these Dodgers deals.
But the Seager got one of the top 10 contracts in baseball history.
Yeah, he got the same amount of money as Yamamoto, $325.
Yeah, but for less time. So he's making more a year. And Semien's similar to that. And
that's not that much more though. Like that's not.
And they're paying. They paid Jacob DeGrom like what was it, like $40 million a year to just sit on the bench, and they won a World Series because they paid all these other guys. And like the Rangers are definitely in a bigger market, but their fans are definitely not as passionate. I don't think they would get that much revenue. They had never run payroll that high before.
Yeah.
And their owner just decided, you know what, we built this new stadium. It's really nice. We're going to try to win. And that's what happened. And like the Cardinals have every right to do that. They can totally do that and still be profitable. They said they were going to increase payroll over the last 2 seasons. They did marginally, but did they really I don't think you can convince me that that if they had signed an extra arm or an extra player this season, that they would have missed the playoffs and that they would be losing money, right? Like, could you imagine if the Cardinals had decided to go out there and get like an Arenado on the open market, and then who knows, that probably wins you a couple extra games. Like obviously,
yeah,
the guys that fall off this year.
I'm not saying that's not true.
That.
But like, if the Cardinals had made a play for Anthony Rendon and that contract goes completely sideways like it did, they are screwed. They can't afford. You can't it's hard to move money in baseball.
Well, which Dodgers player is Anthony Rendon? I guarantee you, if they had signed Anthony Rendon instead of like Freddie Freeman, they wouldn't be that good of a team.
No, because they could get out of that. Is my point. The Dodgers could still say
get out of it and then do what? They would sign another guy, but then like instead of having 3 big bats in your lineup, you have 2 big bats and someone who doesn't play or speak English.
Robbie Ingles today is crazy. No, they could still get out of that though. That's the point. The Dodgers have unlimited funds. Just watch. I know you don't think they're going to be players in the Soto market. I feel like they are.
They're not getting Soto.
I hope they don't get it.
Said that they weren't getting Soto. And yeah, they put a bid in for him. They probably offered him like 10 years, $330 million or or something like that. And they'd be like, yeah, come play with us. Come play on a winner. And I don't think Soto as a Boras client would take that. There's guys that would, right? I'm sure there's guys that would take that who like really value winning over anything else. But Soto's a Boras client, and that doesn't happen. So, like, yeah, maybe Nolan Arenado would take that contract, like take like a 5-year, like $100 million contract to go play for the Dodgers instead of what he's got now for him. But
Sure.
Soto's going to try to get the most money. He's going to try to pass Ohtani. I don't think he'll do it. If someone gives him $700 million, they're crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But
he's probably worth 500.
Yeah, it's like the Dodgers don't have it in their payroll to add another guy like that.
At this point, though, you can't.
And if they do, they're not re-signing Teoscar Hernandez. They're not re-signing Walker Buehler. They're not re-signing any of those guys.
Soto fixes the Teo problem. They don't need Teo if they add freaking Soto, guy who just finished top 3 in AL MVP voting. They don't need Teo Hernandez. And they don't need Walker Buehler because they just signed Blake Snell, who's better than Walker Buehler.
Okay, so you're telling me that a rotation of Tyler Glasnow, Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and Blake Snell is going to stay healthy and good all year. You're going to put money down on that.
No, I'm not going to put money down on any.
All 4 of those guys have significant injury history.
I'm not going to put money down on any rotation staying healthy, but
they don't. There's some of the most injury-prone pitchers in the entire world. Like, there's no one. And you look at the rotation they brought in the World Series. It was just Yamamoto and Buehler
and the fact that that team can suffer that many injuries and still be okay.
The bullpen was good.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And their bullpen, guess what? Their bullpen wasn't bought. Their bullpen was, for the most part, developed and
Blake Treinen's
scouted.
Agent signing.
What?
Blake Treinen's a free agent signing.
Yeah, but that's the only which team doesn't have free agent signings in their bullpen?
I know. I'm not saying the bullpen's totally bought.
Like, Kopech was a very savvy move by them to go get a middling reliever at the deadline. And then like Phillips was a guy who was DFA'd by like Washington, and then they picked him up.
He is so good.
And like Vestia was an outcast.
Yeah, it's an impressive feat to build that bullpen. I'm not saying they're not a good org. You're missing the point. The point again is just that yes, the Cardinals should spend more money, but there's no way they could touch this kind of output. And it's tough. It sucks. When you're a fan of
bullpen was close. If the Cardinals bullpen was that good, homegrown like that, and like some external parts coming in, I think it was close to how good the Dodgers bullpen was.
Our bullpen was really good. Our bullpen was great. The bullpen is not the point.
If the Cardinals had built a rotation with a couple of those names that the Dodgers were throwing out there that were cheap, like Buehler, who's homegrown, and some
Bobby Miller, homegrown,
Mack and Stone or whoever.
But like the point is not the bullpen. It's not the low.
And they have the money to do that. Right? They could have had the money to get a couple of. They have Gray. They could have gone out and used that money for Gibson, Lynn, and Michaelis. They could have signed another guy.
I agree.
You were spending a lot of money on Goldschmidt, Arenado. Honestly, pretty comparable to Betts and Freeman. It's just that those guys are a little bit older, so they're
definitely not comparable to Betts and Freeman at all.
It's because Betts and Freeman were extended at younger ages. Like, Freeman's deal is like similar to Goldschmidt's deal.
Okay, Freeman and Goldschmidt's deals are pretty similar, but the Betts and Arenado contracts are not similar. Betts is being paid. It's a $350 million deal.
Because it's like a 12-year deal. Arenado's deal is like an 8-year deal.
Still, it's like
the AAV is pretty comparable.
Contract. The Cardinals can't extend people their first time into free agency because they can't compete. They can't
guarantee. They don't extend their people into free agency because they're terrible.
The Cardinals can't go to those amounts. Any time any deal exceeds $200 million, you might as well assume the Cardinals are out.
They extended Goldie for like less AAV, like if he was a little bit younger.
I think it was a 30 AAV for 5 years, or like 25 for 5 years.
That's because we got him when he was like 32. So like,
but like again, the point is the overwhelming point is that yes, the Cardinals should spend more money. No, they can't compete financially with the Dodgers. They
can't. But they can. There's ways to be smarter, and I think what we have currently with Bloom will hopefully lead us there. And the Cardinals have the reason the Cardinals don't sign their homegrown players to big extensions is because their homegrown players just aren't that good.
They haven't been in recent years. That's very fair.
like the guys that were homegrown, Pujols was extended for a while, and then he didn't want to come back, and that was a great decision to not re-sign him.
Pujols did not want to come back. We got outbid bad by other teams.
Yeah, and it was a horrible decision by the other teams.
Agreed.
Right?
Thank goodness.
And I think the AAV was similar. We just didn't want to give him the length, which the Angels ended up giving him the length, and he wasn't like horrible, but like he wasn't like Albert Pujols.
He was worth it for like 2 years.
I'm not really mad that they let Pujols walk, and like the Cardinals just like, who would you have wanted to extend that the Cardinals have let go? Tyler O'Neill? That would have gone great, wouldn't it?
No, I'm not saying that the Cardinals need to make these extensions. I'm saying I wish the Cardinals could compete for these types of top end free agents, and I wish that they weren't just.
They can.
They can. I think you are wrong. I don't think they can.
I think the reason that you
think they could have one
is because the DeWitts have tricked us into thinking that they're somehow just poor and they can't afford it, when like the game has changed. Like, no one was getting these kinds of contracts like 10 years ago, and the Cardinals were doing just fine. But now the game has changed, and the DeWitts are like, well, we don't really like this thing, but they're making the amount of money that they're making. Like, look, the Mets had horrible ownership before Steve Cohen stepped in, and Steve Cohen is like losing money. Okay.
Steve Cohen is the only owner in baseball willing to spend personal money.
He's like losing money to do this, but like, he doesn't have to spend that much, and his team could still be good, right? He doesn't have to, he could spend Dodgers money and probably still be like, it'd still be profitable to him. He's just spending way more than that, and he's not spending it well.
He's not spending way more than the Dodgers. And moving forward, the Mets have shed payroll and the Dodgers have added payroll.
Well, that's because the Mets are going to target Soto. They're going to target some of those other arms this offseason.
I do not think
they're going to try to get. Well, it's going to be between the Mets and the Yankees probably, but the Mets are going to offer Soto probably the most money out of everybody.
Hey, Kareem, put it in the chat. Do you think the Dodgers have a shot at Soto?
They don't. No. They just don't. Unless Soto's willing to take a massive pay cut, like, it's not going to be the money that brings Soto to LA. It's going to be just going to be ring chasing.
See, I think that it won't be the money that keeps Soto out of LA. I think at this point, the Dodgers have shown that they are not going to lose out on somebody because of money. That's not going to be the reason they miss out on a player they want to add to their roster. And they definitely want Soto. Everyone wants Soto. See, Kareem is.
We extended Kareem, by the way. Kareem signed an extension with us, so he's here to stay. But anyway, we should probably pivot into Arenado talk. We said we're going to take 30 minutes and then get into the Arenado talk. But before we get into that, we wanted to thank a couple of our sponsors. The first one is 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. 314 is located at 9640 Olive Boulevard. They have all of the packs and local players from around the league, trading cards, individual packs, or individual players and then packs. That Paul Skeens card still hasn't surfaced. So if you guys want to go there or get some Chrome update, I don't know if they have any in stock. Last time I was there, they sold out of it. But if you can go out, go to 314 and you pull that Paul Skeens card, you are set for life, man. Like, that is, you're going to have just so much money now to work with. Probably enough to sign a big free agent, you know? Actually, I don't know if it's that much. Probably not that much. But you're gonna get a lot of money if you pull that Paul Skeens cards, the golden ticket. They buy, sell, and trade all sports cards and Pokemon cards. So even if you don't get the Skeens card, still really exciting stuff. So check them out. We'll be there for our charity live stream. I really need Josh back. I miss Josh. He does all the ad reads so much better than me. But also, we're proud to be partnering with Underdog Sports. Underdog Sports, our favorite place to play fantasy games. Man, it's a rough day for me. You got to check out their pick'em. It's so easy to play. Just pick 2 to 8 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can multiply your money 20-fold by going 5 for 5. That's Paul Goldschmidt with no runners on. If that sounds like fun, you can sign up now today with promo code CARDS to claim your first free pick and first time deposit up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We can't wait to see your entries. And one last thing to note about Underdog, they're legal to play in Missouri right now. We know Amendment 2 just passed for sports gambling, but Underdog is not a betting app. It is a pick'em fantasy app, so it is currently legal to play and make pick'ems. So definitely go over there and check that out. Josh made a Thanksgiving pick'em. He's holding Caleb Williams water for that. But hopefully it cashes for me because I did make that entry as well. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Thanks, Underdog, and thanks 3-4.
All right. So moving on from the Dodgers superstar talks, one of the Cardinals' supposed superstars has some news of his own to share with the baseball world. Not sure if you guys have seen it yet, but the news hit us. Mixed opinions here. Arenado has reportedly said he's willing to play first base now to increase his, I guess, attractiveness to potential teams. For me, this feels like a nothing burger because I believe that Arenado's value at this point, primarily defensive. He was a good defensive third baseman this year. He rebounded in a way. He was much better than he was in 2023, where it felt like that had slipped. Gold Glove finalist again this year. He didn't win it, unfortunately. So that streak is, it's gone. But the nice thing is he was very solid there, got the job done, much better than a lot of third basemen. And Arenado's not that old right now. He won't be like egregiously old by the end of this contract. So he definitely still has value as a third baseman. I'm not sure. It's nice to say, hey, I'd play first base to get out of here. Teams probably are happy to hear that, but I can't imagine that there's a team that was like, oh yeah, we only want Arenado because he could play first base for us now too. I don't know if it gets anyone else in on the Arenado sweepstakes. What do you think, Andrew?
I mean, for me, like it does show that Arenado doesn't want to be here. Right?
Yeah.
And the Cardinals love their players that want to be here. So I think he's gone. I think it's pretty much.
I think he's gone.
It's pretty much like confirmed at this point that like he's not going to be on the roster next year, which is fine. Like I don't really mind that at all. We lost some of our veterans after 2022. We didn't really like realize the impact that would make. But hey, Arenado wanted Brandon Crawford to come in and do veteran leadership, so that speaks volumes to what he can do.
Yeah, for sure.
In the clubhouse. So whatever, right? Like he was probably his floor is probably lower than whoever we're going to stick at third, than like Donovan or Sajasi or any of those guys at third base. But yeah, this is fine. I'm more than happy to move on from him. I don't understand what this is doing. Like it seemed like a big story the other day when it came out when Katie Wu dropped the news that he's willing to move to first base. And yeah, there's teams that need a first baseman that probably going to go out there and look for one this offseason. But I can't imagine that they would be like, yeah, Arenado, his contract, we'll take that on for him to play first base over like a Paul Goldschmidt flyer, which is going to be like a 1-year deal and probably half the value of what Arenado's being paid, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't think, and there's other first basemen out there, right? Like you could probably sign Pete Alonso for like a similar AAV than what Arenado's getting. So I feel like if you trade for Arenado as a first baseman, you're probably going to have to eat a significant portion of the contract, a lot more than you would if he was at third base. And
I don't know. I actually don't know if that's true because I just don't think there's a team that like I don't think that's.
I don't think there's any team that would be like. But like if the Yankees come calling and they're like, well, first of all, who do the Yankees have at third? Jazz Chisholm, like move that guy somewhere else. Like doesn't matter.
Arenado's a realistic fit for the Yankees. Yeah. That's a realistic.
Like let's say the Padres have Manny Machado at third base, and for whatever reason they're like, we need a first baseman and we want it to be Arenado. Who's their first baseman right now? Jake Cronenworth? Is it?
I think he plays some first.
Yeah, I don't know. I would see like if the Padres wanted Arenado, they would be like, hey, Cardinals, like Arenado as a first baseman is not worth, what is it, $25-26 million a year, whatever the Rockies aren't paying. And for them to say, yeah, we need you to eat like half of it, and we're not going to give you anything in return either.
Cardinal, that's
right. Like I'm sure there's a team out there that needs a third baseman like the Yankees that's going to offer to pay or for the Cardinals to pay down less of his contract and probably give them something better, because Arenado at this point in his career seems to me like a defense first guy. Like
I just
that is still there. Yeah.
I just want to say a couple, like I agree with most of that. I do think as Cardinals fans, we are underselling Arenado's offensive profile still because we're frustrated. And it's totally fair. I think on our end to be pissed off, frankly, about the lack of production we've gotten out of him. But I mean, some of the stuff I've seen, especially from seemingly Boston fans who think that an Arenado deal could work for them. Like they're saying, there are some people saying that he definitely still has offensive value. Arenado was a 126 OPS plus player for basically a decade before these past 2 seasons. And they don't think he's totally cooked in that sense. Still plays good defense. Like he still has value. And I do think that I don't know, some of the mock trades I've seen flying around, right? Like coming from non-Cardinals places. Obviously, if it's like some Cardinals Twitter account posting their, trade calculator, I don't believe in that stuff. But like MLB Tonight pitching a 3-team trade with the Cardinals, I think Cardinals, Red Sox, and Mariners.
Terrible trade.
Cardinals, Phillies, and Mariners.
Yeah.
Had the Cardinals ending up with like top prospects and, Mick Abel too.
MLB. Well, that's because I think we give up Helsley as well.
Yeah. But like that's an unbelievable trade for the Cardinals. And so maybe it makes me think, does Arenado have more value outside of St. Louis than people here seem to suggest? Because in those deals, it definitely seems like he does. And those are coming from neutral sources. I'm not saying that deal's going to happen. But some of the other things I've seen with like Arenado and a Jason Dominguez swap in New York, like that was a crazy thing.
And you also have to give up Lars Nootbaar. So
no, there was a different one without Nootbaar.
Oh yeah,
yeah, coming from a New York account, like that's crazy stuff. So I don't think those deals are happening. I think Arenado is still going to be at some point or to some extent difficult to move, but maybe he has more value. Maybe we're underselling him just a little bit. And I hope that's true. I would love to know that people around the industry still really want him and see him as a hot commodity.
Yeah, I like the Boston moves a lot. I think Chaim Bloom just cook. Like, I don't even care what you bring. I don't even care if I've heard the name. It might not even be a top 30 prospect. If Bloom wants the guy, he's probably good, right? Like he's been in Boston's system forever. He knows all the ins and outs. He knows who's good, who's not. And I'd totally like to see us make some more deals with Boston in that sense. But yeah, I mean, all this tells us is that Arenado wants to get traded. He's not going to play first base. I think most people are like laughing at the idea. It's like if you were to sign like Yadier Molina to play third base, and it's like, why? This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like he's not gonna do that. He's not a DH type bat. Like first base is essentially just an extension of DH. You don't do that much. Like it's not a
Arenado's not going to play first. I'm with you.
Right? Yeah. Like he's like him DHing for another team is crazy. And I don't know. I kind of wish he just opted out after 22 and signed somewhere else.
For a ton of money. That would have been great.
It would have been nice to see him go to like the Dodgers or some place and just stink it up. But if he went there, he'd be good.
He'd be amazing.
Yeah, but because you look at his numbers, is 119 OPS plus 21, 151 OPS in 22, and then 108, 101. And it's like, well, the 151 was an outlier, and he never had an OPS plus that high in Colorado, even like within 20 points. So
yeah, he was so good in 2022. That was such a special year.
I don't like, how did this happen? I think 2022 just tricked us into thinking that this team was way better than it actually was.
It was such a fun time.
And we should have traded for Soto. And then we would have
extended. Yeah. Might have beaten the Phillies.
I think we would have beat the Phillies with Soto.
Who knows? The whole team went quiet. We were at those games. They were the worst.
Well, it's because Helsley. Yeah, if Helsley didn't stub his finger on whatever, but yeah.
It is what it is. Baseball's weird sometimes. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not worried about competing next year. I'm not like, I just want to see the guys who we have play. And it's going to be probably a pretty quiet offseason. Like once Arenado gets traded and Helsley hopefully gets traded after him, we're not really going to see too much action going on, but definitely appreciate everyone for sticking with us through this time. I know our views have dipped a little bit, but there's still so many people who come in here just to watch us talk about absolutely nothing.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
So we're going to continue doing our speculation. Appreciate everybody for sticking with us during this busy time. But yeah, win the lottery, please. Let's win the lottery. And that's like next week, isn't it? I think it's next week at the winter meetings. So the winter meetings are coming up. Maybe some stuff.
Yeah, give us some Cleveland luck or some Cincinnati luck.
Yeah.
Finishing above 500 and getting to pick in the top 3 would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But then, what is it? One more year and then we can't do it. the
Yeah,
top 10 or top 5, top 10.
top 10.
Yeah. So
The White Sox are running into that right now, right?
yeah.
That's gotta suck as an organization to bump into that 3 in a row. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's all we've got for you guys today. Arenado news seems like he really wants to get out of St. Louis. And if you're just joining now, you missed the big Blake Snell debate. We kind of went back and forth on that. The nature of spending for the Cardinals. At the end of the day, it's a tough time to be a Cardinals fan. Not trying to spend a ton. And it is what it is. We'll be talking about that more. Payroll has been a theme with this team for a number of years, and I'm sure it'll continue to be, especially this offseason, as we all have our different ideas on how to improve the team. But it seems like everyone agrees you can improve the team by spending a little more money and spending a little more intelligently. So hopefully the Cardinals listen to us and get a sense of that. But again, like Andrew said, thanks so much for all the viewers that stick with us. I know there's not a ton of Cardinals news coming out. Things will pick up, though. Like he said, the Arenado Helsley trades are bound to happen. Could be more. Cardinals could move off some other pitchers, could bring in some new faces. So we'll be there to cover all of that. Maybe it'll be like last year where we have a couple exciting emergency pods. Maybe those won't happen, though. So you never know. But again, thanks so much. What'd you say, Andrew?
Lennon Gibson.
Oh, gosh. Hey, that was like a year ago today, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But again, just thank you guys so much. And, we'll see you next time.
Oh, I did not have that ready. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Blake Snell.